at the very beginning of the work, the creators will tell the audience, don't touch any of the actors, don't talk to any of the actors. There's a lot of restrictions because I've always jokingly said, but I'm kind of being serious, that an audience will typically ruin an interactive performance. The audience is the first ones to ruin it. Because they're human beings.
Welcome to Entangled Health, where quantum tech, AI, health, biology, and consciousness research overlap. I'm Thomas Ehmer, and I like to have the conversations that never quite fit into conference or reports.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carlo D'Amore. I'm the creative director and founder of Live In Theater. We're a theater company. We're also a gaming company. We're an interactive theater group, and we perform true crime.
Yeah, today we're trying something completely different, treating immersive theater as a social nervous system. We want to explore if and how resonance, coherence, and the observer effect might shape a room, and we both absolutely don't know where this will land, so join us on that quest. And a quick disclaimer, these are personal conversations, a co-creation between my guest and me, and nothing of this is an official statement from any company or from my employer or anyone else. Yeah, Carlo D'Amore. This is cool, and as I said in my intro, I have no clue where we're going to land.
I love it.
I think I will just give you the first word, and because you reached out, and what our expectations are, and just go.
Yeah. Well, Thomas, thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk all things whatever and everything and nothing at all. I love it. I reached out. Entangled Health. I was really curious as to your podcast. I listened to some of the episodes, and the thing that really struck me was this idea of health being entangled and enmeshed, and not one thing, right? Not linear. And like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I'm a jumper. I jump everywhere. So hopefully you're with me. I could tell. I went to a doctor one time. I couldn't tell you what it was that I had. I had something wrong. And the doctor behind the lab coat, basically, she said, this is what you, I can't remember exactly what it was, but just let's say I had a strep throat. She said, that's not the way you get strep throat. And she was so absolute about how you don't get whatever the disease was that in my mind I thought, I'm leaving. This person, you can't be absolute like that because I am my own person, and the way a sickness affects me, yes, it's probable, but when you're that definite, it just, credibility went out the window for me, and I did leave. And then I was sick longer than I probably needed to be, but nonetheless. So there's something about the title, the name of your podcast, Entangled Health, that I really leaned into it, and I'm all about leaning into things that I don't understand.
This is good. So do I, because I think we talk about immersive theater, and I think we have something here which is I sometimes mention it on the show. I think this is to bring people together who should know of each other, because they bring something to the table that just the other have never thought of, and I think the entanglement is, of course, just braiding, or everything hangs together with everything. So, and being the physicist myself, I'm very much into resonance. Does it resonate? Or do we have coherence? Do we vibe together? Do we swing together? And maybe later in the conversation, when you talk a bit about your experience, what happens when you do these crime scenes, or could we think when we solve such a crime case?
Yeah.
So maybe you just talk your story, what it is that you're doing. But is one of these crime cases, could we treat crime as a kind of a disease? We don't know. So we honestly don't know, and we might want to explore. And if so, could we learn something how we maybe learn from other cultures, like the Ubuntu people who just don't punish people, but they just they bring people together.
They talk it out.
They talk it out, for example. Or if I don't know. So let's. But
yeah, that's a fascinating question, and let's go down that path. I think that one of the things that is most interesting to me in creating theater, because at the end of the day, Thomas, these are just stories, right? It's all about, I'm a storyteller. Like if I had to break it down to the bare minimum, I'm a storyteller. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to started creating interactive theater, which is the way we define interactive theater. Mm-hmm. At Live in Theater is how do we get a non-rehearsed participant? How do we get you, essentially, the audience, to co-create the story? I always do this gesture that you see this gesture that I'm doing. How do I get you to co-create it with me? Right? Yeah. How do we build it together? Now you don't know what the story is, right? So how do I empower you as the audience member to actually build it with me?
Okay.
So there's a lot of. Yeah, you want to say something? You have a question?
No. I thought these are the people. So my assumption was, and maybe I'm wrong. So I'm definitely wrong.
Yeah.
Because my assumption was, I buy a ticket and I go to your show and I know we solve, I don't know, case X. And because it's unsolved, I try to solve it. But that's not the case. So you rather say you guys.
No. It has many layers, right? Mm-hmm. And one layer is, yes, essentially you're solving the case. But there's different kinds of immersive theater. So just a couple of things, I'll put it out there just in case some of your listeners are not familiar with it. Mm-hmm. Immersive theater, which is partly what we do, but we are mostly interactive. Immersive is literally you're immersed in the world. So literally you are on stage, you're in a set, you're like in a movie, and you are traveling through the movie. You're in this world. That's what immersive at its core means, right? Interactive is how you are interacting. A lot of immersive work, at the very beginning of the work, the creators will tell the audience, don't touch any of the actors, don't talk to any of the actors. There's a lot of restrictions because I've always jokingly said, but I'm kind of being serious, that an audience will typically ruin an interactive performance. The audience is the first ones to ruin it.
Yes,
because they're human beings.
On this. Let's go. Yeah, go. Interesting.
Oh, you have a question, or should I keep going?
No, go on, but let's park this thought.
Yeah. At any point, just ask, because I'll just keep talking. But basically, interactive means you are a part of it. I'm talking to you. What Thomas says makes a difference to the way I interact with you. Mm-hmm. So there are different rules. Most people don't do interactive, and they don't do it to the level that we do it. It's a very high level. And the way we do that is we have little bits of story that's scripted, and we're improvising around that. Very much like this conversation is an improvisation, and we're going back and forth. That is pretty much what we do. In essence, you're there to solve the case, yes. And the mystery is ideal for this kind of work because we couldn't really do Hamlet and have it be an effective way to not only do team building, but also to entertain an audience, because it would be too complicated. So the mystery it has to be simple. In my opinion, good art is at its core simple.
Yes.
Right? Like if you watch an incredible film, an incredible play, you can usually tell your friends, oh, this happened and this happened, this happened. You never go like, oh, I don't really, because then it didn't work, right? The piece of art didn't work, right? Mm-hmm. So it needs to be simple. And the mystery is simple because in essence, Thomas just needs to solve it. End of story.
Let's check. Let's just, I have so many thoughts, but let's go the first route I want to pick up is when you say it's kind of a team building-ish exercise.
Yeah.
So that's what I understood.
Yeah.
So, which brings me a bit to resonance. So these people need to vibe together to act as a ensemble to solve the case, or if they don't behave, they destroy the game, or how does this work?
Yeah, for sure. So again, thinking of like, okay, it's a mystery, we need the audience to solve it. So we've learned after years and years of doing these how to like make it as efficient as possible. So we always take because it's so interactive, we need to break the audience up. Let's say 50 audience members or 100 audience members, we break them up into small teams.
Okay.
Because if 100 people are talking to us at the same time, it's very chaotic, right? Exactly, right? So simple, we make them smaller teams. Within those teams, we, as the facilitators of the experience, as the creators of the experience, are setting everybody up essentially, hopefully to win, right? And to win means to solve the case, right? It does not mean you're going to. It's very difficult. They're complicated. There's a lot of layering. It's a lot of complex narratives that you're trying to follow. And to be honest, the shows are very, very, they're very entertaining. People are laughing a lot. So on top of everything, trying to understand what happened in the murder, how it committed, you're also laughing. So and we're also allowing the audience. This operates on many different levels. We're also doing what we're doing is we're tapping into. As children, we all knew how to play, right? Right. So when you were a child, of course you did. You're such a scientist. You're like, I didn't play. No, but as children, when our adults said, go play, almost none of us ever turned and said, how do we do that? Because we knew how to play. We just knew how to play. As adults, I think we become atrophied children. We forget to play because culture, society, you're a man, be a man, don't be silly, right? I was in a relationship with somebody that always used to say to me, why can't you be serious? And then I would always say, why? And that's me, right? I'm an actor. We could talk about this for a long time. I'm an actor and a creator for a reason, because I have built in me this sensibility of like curiosity and imagination, very, very much like a child, right? And I love that. So we're also allowing the audience to play. And when they're playing, so how do we basically, we give you the tools. We say, okay, this is what somewhat, it's all, one of the main things that we do is that we play the reality of the situation. What do I mean by that? If you're my actor, I say to you, Thomas, when the audience interrogates you, and that's essentially what the audience is doing. The audience is listening to the facts of the case, just like if you were a real police officer, whether you're in Germany or you're in New York City, doesn't matter, right? You get the facts of the case. What do we know, right? So everybody gets all of that. They get the facts. When the victim was last seen, they get, somebody saw something, somebody heard something. This is evidence. This is a coroner's report that we have. This is how the injury was, so you get, at the beginning, you get all the factual information to be able to start the investigation. So very much like like if you were a real police officer, right? Why do we do that? Because we're all contemporary audiences. What do I mean by that? I mean that whatever part of the country, of the world you're in, we're all so accustomed in 2026 to really high quality storytelling, great television, great films. So we can't do anything that's not super authentic. It needs to feel real. That's important because that allows the audience to go, oh, wow, this feels very unique. Because I'm a part of it as the audience, and it feels like I'm inside a movie. So that is number one, the realness of it. Number two, we give you the tools to be able, very quickly, in character it's called, the lead facilitator says, what are questions you're going to ask, Thomas, to help us solve this case? So go ahead. Imagine that I'm asking you that question. What are questions you would ask of suspects, Thomas?
And then I would say, well, where have you been yesterday night?
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. The alibi, right? Alibi. And then we have motive. You know, is there a motive? What did somebody not like the person, right? And opportunity. Were you in town in the same place where that person was murdered? That's it. We give you those three things to ask. Again, simple, because if we tell you you have this Shakespearean monologue, it's impossible, right?
And then your sister was part of married with this guy.
Yeah, forget it. I'm out. I'm already like the minute you say but blah, 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 it gets confusing. And then basically that's the first act of the show. The second act, the audience interrogates the suspects and we do something else. So the realness pulls them in, right? Pulls them in. They're engaged. Even if they start off like this, they don't know. And then I'll gradually, you see them go, oh my God. And they start to play. Great, wonderful. And then we give them pushback. What do I mean by that? The suspects, right? The actors are all directed to come from a place of this really happened. So they're playing high stakes. They're playing the highest stakes because they're affected by this murder. So if you, as the audience, is interrogating me, and if I believe, as the actor, we believe, right? We believe that if you think I'm guilty, I'm going to go to jail. My family will be ashamed. My wife and my kids will be without me. It'll be a disaster. So then I, as the actor, I'm fighting with you. What do you know, Thomas? How dare you talk to me like that? You don't know anything about me. So instantly, you're like, what's happening? And then if it happens at work, it's even more. Because if you and I are best friends and we go do something, it's one thing. But if you're my boss and I am an intern, there's, oh my God, I have to behave in a certain way with these actors who are just playing make-believe. So all of a sudden, it takes a little bit of courage to you as the audience to say, I'm asking the questions here. Oh, okay. All right. So you gain a little bit of confidence. So we find that we see people connect and bond in ways that they typically do not ever. Because it's such a novel experience.
Okay. And this is cool. I'm just thinking the other point that was on my radar is a principle called uncertainty. I mean, there is in quantum. We talk quantum. Quantum is you have the uncertainty principle that you can measure one property very exact, and then the more precise you measure. For example, in quantum physics, you measure the position. You don't know the speed, and if you know the speed very much, you just don't know the place. So it's a good excuse, by the way, if you get a speeding ticket.
Uncertainty is an incredible tool that we have at our disposal, not just in these shows, but all of us, right? Uncertain, we don't know what's going to happen, and the audience doesn't know.
So you said you have these. If you have big groups, you're going to split them in smaller teams, and then are all solving the same thing, or are they part of a bigger team?
No, they're all solving the same thing. So there's a 3-act structure, and the first act is everybody hears the lead facilitator, whoever. All of the structure that I'm talking about is the same for all of the shows that we have, but the narratives are very different. The worlds are very different. It could be 1800s, 1970s, 1960s, today. Different worlds, different crimes, different characters, but the structure is the same. At the top, there's one person. Everybody hears the facts. Everybody's taking them down, and then you get sent out. So you work in one team of 10. I work in one team, and then we meet all of the same actors at different times. So you meet the wife first, and then you meet the significant other, and then I meet the significant other first, and they rotate. How we capture the narrative slightly different, but essentially the same.
And then this is cool because I was just thinking there is a terminology which is called tunnel effect. So the information could tunnel through some barriers. And
for sure.
I'm now just thinking, I'm thinking loud, if the actors are interacting with team 1 and team 2 and team 3 or whatever, it's just needed.
Yeah.
Do they leak information they got? I mean, if I'm now playing the role for the third time, I might be influenced by the first or second interaction because I had to laugh, or they made a joke and which is framing my picture, or I got aggressive, have adrenaline or whatever. Is this happening? Or I mean, the interaction.
That's a great question. Each actor, each character has a certain amount of information that they have to get out. And they get it out. And some of them are pointing directly at the murderer, and some of them are pointing at red herrings. And it's entirely up to the actor has to deliver that in whatever way it comes out. But they have to make, because it's not fair if the audience doesn't get the information. But were you listening? Were people talking all at the same time? Were they laughing? Were they excited? Were they not listening? We always have, in each group of audience members, we call them bulldogs. This is like 3 or bulldogs, like a dog, because there's 3 or 4 people who are asking all the questions. And then we direct everybody. I direct everybody, the actors. Make sure you reach out to the people who are not talking so that everybody gets a piece of the performance. And then there's also some people are just more quiet, right? And they will look at the clue documents because there's files that they go, dossiers, there's pictures, and there's evidence. So it reaches everybody, right? Some people are more boisterous, some are more quiet, some are watching, and then in between each actor that they meet, they have a couple of minutes to reassess, and they go, yeah, we're asking too many questions. We're not really listening as much as we should. And that's when the team building really starts to strengthen, right? They start to really people step up and I think we're doing this wrong. I think maybe we need to pull back a little bit or be more aggressive, or maybe we need to be like good cop. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I understand, Thomas. She was being mean to you. Maybe you just lost you're playing good cop, or shut your mouth, Thomas. I'm talking now. You're like, oh, okay. So we give you that. So all those elements work at not only helping you work together in a more efficient way, but also a novel experience, because most people never get the experience of interrogating somebody in a murder investigation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Not so very usual daily experience. You have that,
yeah.
And you in our preparation, you mentioned you had a piece that was kind of transformative also to you, with JFK thing.
Yeah.
Not mistaken.
Yeah. Sure. No.
Because I think that's something that is really worth listening to.
Oh, great. I'll tell you. Yeah. I'll go back a little bit. I started the company in New York City in 2009 because I'm just very impatient. I've always been a storyteller, and I started to I did as an actor, because I'm still an actor. As an actor, I was like, I don't want to wait for people to give me work. I'm just going to make my own work. And then I became much more of a creator than an actor. And it's great because then I get to tell the stories that I want to tell, how I want to tell them. So we started with true crime. All of the cases are either real unsolved cases, or trials. We also do trials where the audience plays jury, prosecution, defense. And then I found a really fascinating. Do you know the movie Panic in Needle Park?
I would have to lie if I say yes, but
no, that's okay. That's okay. I think I might refresh your memory a little bit. It was Al Pacino. Do you know who Al Pacino is?
No,
the American actor.
Yeah.
It was Al Pacino's first major film.
Mm-hmm.
And the film is called Panic in Needle Park, and it's about two heroin addicts, John and Karen, who live on the streets. Mm-hmm. And that film was created because Bill Epridge was a very famous photographer, Argentinian guy originally, but he worked in the States, in America. One of his many famous photographs, he photographed Bobby Kennedy when he was assassinated. There's a very famous picture of Bobby Kennedy and a young boy who was a restaurant worker who was holding his hand. This very famous photograph. Mm-hmm. But Bill Epridge met these two heroin addicts in New York City in a place called Needle Park. Mm-hmm. So Needle Park is the name given to any park, essentially, where people go and do drugs.
Heroin, yeah.
They shoot up, right? Heroin, I'm talking about. So he came out he met these two individuals, John and Karen. It was and then he said, "Do you mind if I photograph you?" Mm-hmm. And he spent 3 months with them. Mm-hmm. Every day and night, like sleeping in the same space with them, living with them. And when he was done, he had an incredible archive of photographs. And then he took it to Time Life magazine. And it was the first time that Time Life magazine had shown anybody using drugs. Like there's pictures of needles going in the arms. That was nobody had ever done that before. Mm-hmm. And these two heroin addicts were two white Americans, a male and a female. So it was a revelation. The country was like, what are we looking at? They shuddered, right? But it was an incredible story. And so much so, the pictures that they made a film out of it. So what I did with two of my best actors, I took these photographs and I created a day in the life of John and Karen. Mm-hmm. And we went through a park, Needle Park, and because unfortunately heroin is still a drug that's used in this country, in this city. And we had 13 audience members that spent an hour and a half with these two heroin addicts, actors playing heroin addicts. Mm-hmm. And it was a revelation. It really was. It was a small, intimate experience. We worked with a Russian VR company. Mm-hmm. One of our team members is Russian, and she connected us with this company that did virtual reality. Mm-hmm. So throughout this park, so it all happened an hour and a half in this outdoor park in New York City. And where people are having picnics, they're playing basketball, and some people are using drugs. It's New York City, so you see a little bit of everything, right? And then throughout the journey of the audience with these two actors, there was QR codes all over wherever they were going to be standing, watching and being in the performance, because it was very interactive. And they were told, whenever you see a QR code, put your phone up to it. Mm-hmm. And they would see a photo of the real John and Karen from the Time Life article. And sometimes it would be mirroring what the actors were doing, the physicality that they were doing. In fact, I remember, I'll never forget, the opening of the experience. At the very beginning, I was playing the role of the facilitator. So I would meet the audience, who was typically very excited about, being there. And I would say, welcome, welcome. And I'd make sure, okay, yeah, you have 2 tickets. Fantastic. And I'd say, we're going to go back in time to the 1960s, and we're going to spend some time with 2 individuals. And then I would tell them, if you see a QR code, put this picture up, put your phone up and see something, And then I'd say, let's go to the 1960s. And we'd walk around the corner, and in the middle so New York City, you've been to New York, yes?
I've been to the airport. I must.
The airport. Okay.
I haven't.
You must. Everybody must. Like I must go to Germany. You must come to New York. But New York has this thing where we never make eye contact with people.
They don't?
Because if you're on the subway, we know that you don't want to make eye contact with people unless you think somebody's very cute and you're trying to be flirty or something. But you typically don't, because there's a lot of dangerous possibilities. So you don't make eye contact. So anyway, so there's that, okay? So I would say this 13 people, I'd say, let's go to the 1960s. And we'd go around the corner, and there would be this tableau of John and Karen mid-walk, like they were walking, they were frozen in this park with people all around, and nobody was looking at them because nobody makes eye contact. So you could literally, your hair can be on fire in New York City and nobody will look at you, right? So it was amazing. So there's this picture of both of them walking, like standing still, and I'd walk up to them, and the audience, I'd say, gather around, and I'd say, this is John. He was born in New Jersey. He's been on heroin for 17 years. And blah, 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 blah. And this is Karen, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd say, grab a seat. And then they would grab a seat. And then a few seconds later, boom, they would come out of the tableau and they, hey, Joe. And they would endow the audience as different people. The audience became friends.
Yes.
The audience at different times became family members. The audience became police officers. The audience became drug dealers. They became all of the things that people that they would encounter in their everyday life. And it was amazing. The woman, Karen, she would take off her scarf and she would tie her scarf around her arm to simulate shooting up. There was no needles, there was nothing, but it was just her tying the scarf and then dozing off. And the audience, it was incredible to watch because they knew it wasn't real. They knew it wasn't real, but they would be like, oh, no, she they want to try to help her, pick her up. They knew she was acting. They did not know that she was not acting, but their empathy just became a visceral thing. And because we're allowing them to play with us, right? There's a lot of physicality. Like when John is like hurting, it's called being sick. Like you have pangs of pain because you need the drug. They would pick him up and they would carry him, and it was just an astonishing experience. I'll just tell you one more thing, and then you can ask me anything. But in the story, at one point, John gets arrested by the audience. Very simple. They get it was all effortless. And two audience members instantly become police officers, and they arrest him. And then he's gone. He leaves. And the idea is that he was incarcerated for 2 years. And then we jump time, right? 2 years. And it's the day he's being released. And he comes out of jail. And he has been in jail for 2 years, so he has not used any drugs. And he's so excited to see Karen because he loves her, because they love each other. And we all know that Karen is still using.
Yeah.
And at one point, we're with John, we're surrounding him, and a block down the street, Karen says, "John!" And then everybody looks at Karen and they're like, no. And they keep him away from her because they know the danger that she represents. And then we had two endings. Either he goes with her or he decides to not go with her. But it was it would happen, like they would run towards each other, and often there was pigeons on the street, and the pigeons, it was like a French movie. It was like a love story, and the audience would be so affected.
If we see this as a enlightenment enhancer for the audience, maybe could this, I mean, it seems to be transformative. If you have seen, if you have been one of these 13 people who were normally not exposed to this kind of life. If we think about education of medical doctors, for example, or education of therapists,
oh my gosh,
do you think it could make sense, or I'm not sure how they are called in English, but those social workers? For
as a tool to teach those individuals, 1,000%. In fact, we started to like consider like doing that as art has the power. I mean, we all know this, right? Art has the power to transform, right? And especially when it's like, I'll just give you one more moment in this story. In the moment, at one moment in the story, John is hurting so much for heroin. He needs it so bad that he prostitutes Karen. Right? I mean, you don't see anything basically, but he starts pushing one of the audience members to take Karen, to go. And Karen very willingly goes, and she would take an audience member by the hand, and they'd go like 10 yards, and they'd go behind the tree, and nothing would happen. And then they would come back. And first of all, for a lot of audience members that went with her, they were like, so uncomfortable, so mortified, and they didn't want, or some of them would be like, no, because it's so layered, right? It's so, not only is this happening to you as an audience member, you're being watched by other people, and the culpability, the guilt, it's so complicated and complex. Under the guise of it's not real, we're able to touch things that were profound and uncomfortable. I'm really big on discomfort. I'm really big on telling things that make an audience uncomfortable, not just because I want to make somebody uncomfortable, because I think on the other side of that is greater understanding, more. So yes, to use this as a tool to teach people, invaluable when it comes to immersive interactive work. Yeah, it's invaluable.
Out of curiosity, and tell me if you're uncomfortable if I ask this, but did you design in some safeguards for the audience? Because
I didn't.
Because I think it could be. We are always in super regulated, so always disclaimers. So just as I'm asking, out of curiosity, if somebody would have had some would have been either voyeur or whatever, a prostitute in their early life, or having had just quit heroin and then experiencing something like a re-traumatization. Was this?
No. No, I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Yes, I didn't because I'm literally trying to find what year that was. So part of it is that this happened in, I'm trying to see here, I can't remember. Maybe it was what year was it? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. It must have been 9, 12, 13, 14, 2013, 2014, around there. It was around that time. So it was a different time. There's that.
And I think also you would spoil the authenticity. And I mean, no risk, no fun. And I guess, it's
I'm
just
really,
it's just how these debriefs are handled, and if we lose some authenticity these days.
So this is my opinion, right? This is my opinion, but I hate that stuff. I hate that, and no, I think it's so. Yes.
Yeah, we know.
I'm not ashamed to say it. So for a period of time there, yes, we don't want to traumatize anyone, obviously, right? And we need to be careful, right? We need to be careful. Yeah. But in my opinion, to a certain point, because then you're not creating art.
Yes.
It's like when there's too many restrictions, I think about this. This drives me nuts. When young actors, because of the people who are teaching them and the administration and just the culture that we're in, come from a place of like, you can't use those words.
Yes,
you must as a young actor, you can't use those words, or this is traumatizing, or I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that you're not going to be an actor that anybody was ever going to want to watch.
Yes.
Because as an actor, you want to go to the darkest, most difficult, challenging. As people, as audiences, we never watch actors to be, the person walking down the street. We want to see extraordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, or else we're not going to watch that. So I feel like there's a whole generation of young actors and people who taught them that were so hemmed in by the right thing to do that you make subpar work, and I was taught, I'm much older than probably I seem, but I was taught that being an actor is a heroic act. The Greeks literally would take they would take people who are too old or the infirmed to watch the heroes on stage live, so I could live vicariously through them. So those heroes were facing unsurmountable tasks. Right. And to be hemmed in for a period of time, I felt that, I can't really be myself. I can't really create the work that I want to create. Because society was like so like wound up. Undoubtedly, rights need to be wronged, right? When somebody is being evil or cruel, then they need to be called out. But then it's swung way in one direction. And when it comes to art, you can't tell an artist what to do or not to do. Like, you can't tell Picasso, you can't use those colors because those colors are going to traumatize me. That's ridiculous.
My retina is traumatized by that. And do you observe some swinging back of the pendulum, that it's getting more? Yes,
for sure. Yeah, I think it's getting like all things change, right? And I think it's getting more. We're going back to more balance, and I'm glad for that. Again, rights need to be wronged, but like do you ever see My Left Foot? Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot, when he played, Daniel Day-Lewis. You've seen him before. He played Lincoln in the movie Lincoln. He has a very famous film. It's called My Left Foot. I don't know who he's playing, but he's playing somebody famous who had cerebral palsy. So, in a wheelchair, like, completely. And nowadays, it's becoming less and less, right? What people would do is they would say, you need to hire somebody that has cerebral palsy. Then it's no longer acting. That's documentary filmmaking. It's different. I think of all the incredible roles that people couldn't do because, it's acting. It's literally becoming somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's part of the transformance to be. I mean, acting is itself transformative.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but I do think it's swinging back, and I think it's getting. You could hear it in like also like comedy or the way people are talking now. There's more profanity. There's more freedom, for lack of a better word. And I think when it comes to art, we just need to be free to create, because you never know how.
Yeah. Let me pick back to the walk in the park with this audience. Yeah. There were normal non-audience people in the park, I guess you just mentioned. So they had picnic and what have you.
Yeah.
And does this have also an impact on the audience itself? So the audience being watched?
For sure.
Because deliberately, or was it an accident, or was it just an experiment, or what?
No, I think our regular the mysteries, right? The mysteries originally started happening through the streets of New York City.
Okay.
Right. So you would meet characters, and then there would be people walking on the streets watching the actors with the audience. Right. So two things happen for the audience. You're watching the actor, but then you're being watched by other people. Yeah. So there's this.
Yeah.
That was very unintentional.
Okay.
But it was wonderful because some people would be like, I don't want them to watch what we're watching. And then some people would be like, that's hilarious that they're watching us, because who becomes the audience and who becomes the spectator, right? There's that.
And is there, that's then an additional element of uncontrolled input? So I think it would also have an impact then back on the actors, because just imagine, so you're in here, you see that she wants to get the shot, the other guy's going to intervene, and then there's some real policemen in the park. What are you guys doing?
No. So that's a great. I'll tell you how the police, not only the police, but. After a while of doing the shows in the same neighborhoods, and we had multiple shows happening in different neighborhoods, the police would get to know us, right? And they would and oftentimes, like we did a very popular show set in the 1970s, right? And there's all kinds of crazy characters on the streets. And the police would drive by when the audience was there, and they'd roll down their window. They'd roll in the window and say, "Hey, Trixie, looking good, hot stuff," and boom, take off. So the audience would be like, "Oh my God, everybody's in on it." Or the fire truck would ring their bell. Or shop owners, they'd say, "Hey," they'd interact, they'd play around, they'd play. It was this magical thing that we, again, in a very efficient way, we were just allowing people to play like little kids, and everybody wanted to jump in on the experience, not just the people who were coming.
This seems like a resonance or coherence effect. So it means you transformed at least the hood, maybe not the whole town.
Yeah,
you're starting to transform things, and has this a bit of a memory then? So just assume the shop owners, they didn't know each other before, and then they act together because you guys come, and then they just act. Are you a community builder also for the town then? Something like that?
I think there's definitely building of community. There's definitely certainly for the audience. Sometimes it was groups of people, but in the very beginning when we do 95% corporate audiences, and the shows are very tailor fit and we do virtual, right? But back in the day, it was general public, meaning anybody could come. So you'd have a group of 10 strangers who would come together, and by the end they were exchanging phone numbers because they spent 2 hours talking, and not only talking, and this is the same for corporate audiences today, but they're also working together. Sometimes we would do dating events, so it would be like half the audience was one gender, the other half, and hopefully you maybe meet somebody that you want to date, or you come, because you find out really quickly if you like this person by the way they're interacting with the actors, the questions that they're asking. Maybe they're not very, not your cup of tea, that kind of thing. But I think definitely the community would, the shop owners. We did one of our shows for a bit. We did it in Madrid, Spain, and we turned one of our shows here. We set it into the period called La Movida, which is right after Franco left, and the explosion of everything, because the country was now free, essentially. And people would come to us, the audience, they would be like older people would say, that was exactly the way it was. So there's a sense of that, of bringing the history back, the nostalgia of the past.
So you had this done in Spanish in Madrid, or was it?
Yeah, we did it in Spanish. Yeah. I translated it because I was born in Peru. I'm Italian Peruvian.
Habla español.
Sí, hablo español.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of interesting. I'm just thinking how to bridge this. Some clever things to bridge this to the quantum world. I observer effect. But I think we touched this a bit. So because you generate. Let me rephrase it. So in the beginning, you said you have in principle just 2 or 3 or 4 building blocks, which are supposed to be the story, and then everybody has a bit the freedom to deviate and live the uncertainty, also interact with the path chosen. Is there some moment when these teams come together and split again?
No. Okay. Typically, I think the reason the mysteries work so well we can do an interactive experience about anything. I've done things that have nothing to do with mysteries, but as a business, the mysteries work because they're efficient, because literally Thomas has to solve it. End of story. Right? So the last part of if you want to call them building blocks, that's great. It's the setup. The first act is the setup, the facts, how to investigate, what are the questions you're going to ask. Great. The second act is the interrogations. You're asking the questions. You're asking the right questions, the wrong questions. It's funny. It's crazy. These characters are intense. You're having to be confident. And the third act, now you're going to take all that narrative that's swimming around your head, and you're going to put it with your team into a cohesive theory. Who did it? How they do it? And very importantly, why they did it. And then you're going to all come back into the main breakout rooms. You have all the little boxes, right? And then each team is going to select a speaker. So Thomas will be the one who delivers the theory, the final theory. And then after everybody's done, then there's something happens. We call it a trigger. And then the killer is very magically and dramatically revealed.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, so in quantum theory, you have this, maybe you have heard it, the observer effect, or the collapse of the wave function, so Schrödinger's cat. Yeah, so it's you don't know if it's alive or not. So there are some things that in quantum physics, you only measure probabilities, so you have a potential, which is over time. And everything is possible unless you measure, and then you have a fact. and then you reduce the potential of the thing to develop further, and then it restarts. So I think this might be an interesting idea to think about.
I think I don't know if
no
I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I'll tell you that when you say anything is possible, when the audience, right, when each team has to tell us what they think happened, sometimes, oh my gosh, sometimes people are just like write these like they have this novella that they've written, and it's like they go so many different places that we're like, what are you talking about? You know, anything is possible. In when we did the shows in the real world, I'll give you an example. We were doing a show in Chinatown, right? If you don't know New York City, it's fine. We were in Chinatown, and Canal Street is a very long street that goes all the way from the east to the west of the island. And one of the suspects, you know, said, I was with my kid. I was going to church with my kid, right? And the audience asked, you know, where's that church? On 27 Canal Street. Why? Why do you care? Who cares where the church is? I'm telling you, I saw him do X, Y, and Z, right? And then the audience goes, we have to go to Canal Street. We have to go to that address. And they would go to that address. And like, they would come back like 2 hours later and the show is over. Or this is even better. This is really crazy. This is when there was a wildness to the work, to our productions. There was an energy that you could not match because it was so real. Mm-hmm. So one of the characters, this is a different show altogether in a different neighborhood set in the 1980s. And one of the characters was this cop, right? Mm-hmm. Undercover cop. He was not dressed like a police officer because that's against the law. We couldn't do that, right, on the streets of New York. But he was very aggressive, and he didn't like Thomas and his group of people. You want to go? Oh, I know you should. I got it. You should go talk to Fat Louie. Fat Louie. Here, he would hail a cab. That means get a cab to stop. He'd open up the door to the cab and say, get in there, go to 127th and Broadway. And then they would be like, are we supposed to get into the cab? And then a couple of times people got into the cab and then they were like, oh, no, we're not supposed to. And then the cab driver would get upset. Like, what are you doing? Are you getting in the cab or not getting in the cab? But it was like, yeah, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah. That's a cool thing.
Dangerous, very dangerous. No, I was going to say, or we did it. There's a very famous museum in New York City called the New York Historical Society. It's beautiful, and it has artifacts, and they do installations all the time. And they brought us in to create a couple of shows for kids, young audiences. And we did this show, which was about the Pinkerton Detective Agency. The Pinkertons were in the 1800s. It was called Pinkertonians. And the whole idea in the beginning of the experience, I'll never forget we were doing this. We were doing training, like it was like the young people and their parents would be training to become detectives. And part of the training, we would play this game in this beautiful gallery space, very open space. It was huge. And we'd have 100 audience members, and we'd have 50 on one side and 50 on one side. And we were just playing like a game of tag. You know, tag, you're it, and then you chase me, I'm it, like that. But with 100 people,
whoa, with
adults and little kids running at each other. It was so insane. I just remember always saying, like, it's so crazy that they let us do this. It's so crazy that they're letting us do this here without anybody saying, no, 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 no. This is a lawsuit. Someone's going to fall, break a leg, and we're going to know. But they always let us do it. And I was just always like, wow, it's so wild.
Yeah. I have one thing that I'm sometimes doing, and I guess you qualify for that.
Okay.
I have written a very small algorithm which is running on a real quantum computer, so it's IBM, by the way, and it's picking random numbers. So this is what these things are good for. I just had to let it run, and it picked a number of a question, which I haven't known before. So you want to have it? So it's a random event to our question to our.
Oh yeah. So am I supposed to do anything? I just answer the question.
I just did run it, so it just came back, and it picked a question, which is coming from Linda from Berlin. Funny enough. And she's asking, what's your favorite way to challenge yourself?
Oh my gosh. Now is Linda listening right now?
No.
No. Okay. What's the favorite way to challenge myself? I try. It's a big challenge. I try to be in the present as much as possible, and it's very difficult. So in other words, I try not to think unless I'm engaging my thoughts to think. I try not to have my thoughts just randomly just go.
How you do that?
And that's very hard.
How do you do that?
Oh, that's a good question. I try to be intentional about what I'm doing. If I'm washing my hands, I'm really just washing my hands. I'm not thinking about what I have to do later. Or if I'm driving a car, I'm literally driving the car, looking in the road. I'm not thinking about what somebody said to me last week. So a way to do that for me is to ground myself, to literally grab things, to ground myself in this chair. You know, I'm holding onto the chair, and just to breathe. Because if I really focus on my in and my out breath, then I'm not thinking just random thoughts.
Yeah.
When I started to do that, I realized, oh my God, I spend so much of my waking hour just like generating thoughts,
which is
that have nothing to do with anything.
Many people do. Yeah.
Oh my God, everybody. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do to challenge yourself, Thomas?
What I'm going to do to challenge myself is I try to listen, which is a big stretch goal for me. No, I think I talk very much. And I'm to challenge myself, challenging myself. I'm not, that's a good question.
Listening is a good one. I had a friend that used to say, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should listen twice as much as we talk.
Yeah. And I think it's really, you made a good point to live in the moment. I mean, that's just the only thing. I mean, the only thing where we can act is the now, and you better are in the now and not in the future and in the past. And
yeah. I think one of the I used to perform a lot in these shows for a long time, and I think one of the reasons, it's a very specific kind of performance, right? And I think one of the reasons, not only that I loved it as much as I did, but I was so good at it, was because when you're with the audience, you know, I know what I have to say. I know what I have to get out, but I would challenge myself. I would see them coming towards me, and I would say, I'm going to pretend that I don't know what is going to come out of my mouth so I could be in the moment. It was like it was like extreme sports, you know, like if we're climbing a wall, climbing a rock, a mountain, right? We're not thinking about what we're going to have for dinner. We're in this moment and in this moment only, you know. And I had that kind of in the moment with the audience, jumping from one to all of them and bouncing and sharing story and having bits and having moments, but I'm very present and electric. We would become electric. That is another way the shows. Give you one example. I used to say in the very beginning, you have to grab the audience, not physically, but you have to pull them in. But you're on the streets of New York City. Oh, very difficult. You know, the house is on fire. There's a policeman. There's a dog peeing on your leg. There's a really pretty woman, really handsome man. A lot of distractions. And you have 10, 12, 15 audience members. What do? So the way to do it is to be emotionally as dynamic as possible. Why emotion? This is the beauty of murder. This is the beauty of mystery, right? I've always said this. I say to my actors, hopefully you and I will never experience murder like this because it's horrible. But in this play, in this alternate reality, we can utilize. I don't know if I had experienced murder, if my sister had died, if my brother, if my lover, whatever, somebody close to me had died, I don't know how I would feel. I think I would most likely, maybe there's some science here, would experience all the emotions, all of them. Anger, of course, remorse, sadness, guilt. I wasn't there. So as the actor in front of the audience, I want you to change. Like I would snap my fingers, and each snap would be a different emotion. So I'd be furious. I'd be like, oh, right. And then, oh my God, maybe. Oh, no. So you change so much that the audience goes, whoa. I can't stop watching this person because I don't know where they're going. So that is another big technique. And again, when we do it for corporate, when we're coming in through our screens, the audience is like, oh my gosh, this feels so real. Like, wow, the acting is so, because you need that. You need to be able just to focus them. And, you know, that's another one of the techniques that we use a lot.
Does it work as well in virtual settings? Because you have...
You know...
I'm talking about...
You know...
It doesn't.
No, I think so. So there's a caveat to that. I think so because I'm the business owner. And because virtual is so incredibly easier than in person.
Yes.
We can do things, and like everything else, there's duality. There's good and bad in everything. What we do, we can do things virtually that we were never able to do.
Yes.
We can do up to 300 people at a time. It's a lot. We in the real world, 200 max, and that was crazy. We also can have backgrounds. We can have sound, so that you hear it. So it becomes more immersive. We also, it's very focused. I mean, you're literally looking and talking to the person very directly without a lot of distractions. And because we do corporate shows, typically the audience is not just, wow. When we did shows for everyone, oh my God, sometimes people would come drinking and they would be aggressive or they, so you don't have all that chaos. So virtual, I mean, you only get from the waist up, but still, you know.
I'm just thinking, so one, that you could go immersive then even with VR, and then even have the other guys presented in VR. So this virtual reality stuff. That I'm thinking, I'm also very much into the bioelectric magnetic interaction. So the heart field that you sense, then you sense somebody, or you enter a room and you say, oh, what the vibes are. Maybe it's pheromones,
Yeah.
or it's really electromagnetic. So
yeah. We certainly don't have that. In virtual, we don't have that. But what we do have is actors who are very well trained.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that we do is that we say every single member of the audience is your scene partner. So anything that Thomas says, anything that Thomas does, Thomas goes, that is an offering. You have to acknowledge it. You have to make something of it. Or if you say, you're the killer, and I just don't hear it or pretend not to hear it, no, you can't do that. Because then the audience feels like, I am very much a part of this. I have agency, right? So you have people, even though we can't read the vibe of the room, you have actors who are very well trained and like, everybody. Yeah, everybody. You know? I mean, if we have bad Wi-Fi, we have bad Wi-Fi, and then it's a disaster. But we typically don't have bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, everybody's well equipped in the US with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. I think there's a lot of things I need to think through later. Is there something you want to know, or something you want to share, or to as a take? I mean, let's maybe just start with how do people come to you? I mean, what would people do?
You can literally just go to our website. It's liveintheater.com. You'll put it in. Yeah, great. That's the easiest thing. And if you're interested, we play for companies all over the world. We also, like, if it's not a company, it's just a group of friends. Like maybe you have friends across the country or across the world and you want to get together, great. Celebrate something. You just go onto our website, fill out a form, and one of us will call you, or you can actually book a show directly right now. It's very easy. We're available anytime because we have actors all over. That's it. That's the easiest way. Go to liveintheater.com. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to LinkedIn, Carlo D'Amore at LinkedIn.
I think that might be really interesting also for, let's say, corporates, and you play all level also. I mean, senior, vice, executive, upwards. CEO.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we play for everybody. A lot of corporate companies book us for maybe it's a celebration, but it's also maybe say thank you to my employees for doing. There's a conference, or if you have. We can do hybrid, which means that maybe you have a business in like Berlin, but then you have individuals that work in India, and then you want to get everybody together, do something other than work, So people book us for all sorts of different things. And we also get very, very busy during, at least in this country, in America, during the fourth quarter. From October all the way to December is our busiest time of year always.
Yeah. Which is a good opportunity to book you in February, because then there might be slots. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, we start getting booked for October and November, December, in June, sometimes in May.
Yeah.
Thomas, this was great.
Yes, and Carlo, I'm just thinking, this is so cool, and you gave me more than an hour now. I always like to just close the call and thank you very much. And I really like to have you the last word, if you have some, not the last word, but some closing words, some take-home messages for the audience.
I don't know if this is going to resonate, but I think that I really appreciated your question about I forget how you phrased it, but the question about, we were talking about J&K 1965, and did you put any? I forget how you phrased it. Were there any disclaimers, or did you?
Safeguards.
Yeah, is that what you said? Safeguards. I think that this is just me, right? I'm a big proponent on people taking chances. And the idea of like jumping jumping into something and not being a perfectionist, and like just having a belief that the net will catch you if you're bold enough to jump. I just feel like so many people in my life and in the world at large are limited by their minds, that even like starting something, even if it's not ready, because it won't be ready, it can always be better. Just doing it. This sounds like a commercial for Nike. It's not, but just do it is a really great thing to do. I have a sign on my wall that says "Just do it." That's it.
Yeah, dear friends, we are now entangled. And that's where we leave it, inside the question. I don't know what this opened for you today, but I hope something did. If a question is still moving in you, sit with it a little longer before you decide what it means. Stay kind, stay curious. Until next time, and keep exploring the unseen.